Maya was walking her dog in Grant Park neighborhood when the neighbor's German Shepherd broke through the gate. The dog bite happened in about 3 seconds. Emergency surgery, 78 stitches, and permanent nerve damage in her right hand. The owner's response: "My dog has never bitten anyone before." He said it like that ended the conversation. I'm Ted Spaulding. I'm a personal injury attorney here in Atlanta. That statement is one of the most dangerous myths in Georgia dog bite law. If Maya believes it, she walks away from a 6-figure plus claim with nothing. This video is about making sure that does not happen to you. What Maya's neighbor said, "My dog has never bitten before," is something that I hear almost every time in one of these dog bite cases. The dog owner thinks it gets them off the hook. In Georgia, it usually does not. And here is what the law actually says. Dog bite liability in Georgia is governed primarily by OCGA 5127. To hold a dog owner liable in Georgia for your injuries, you generally have to prove 2 things. Number 1, that the dog was vicious or dangerous and the owner knew it or should have known it. Second, that the owner was careless in managing the dog or allowed the dog to go at liberty when they should not have. But here is where it gets important. Georgia gives you 2 separate pathways to prove element number 1, which is the most important one to prove. So pathway 1, that is where there's a prior history that you can take. So the route that you would go is there is a past history with this dog that proves element 1, that the dog was vicious. This is the easiest route, obviously. Dog has bitten someone before, or it's growled aggressively at strangers, it's lunged at people through fences, it's broken through fences before, or the owner has actually warned neighbors about the dog's behavior. All of those things can establish that the owner knew or should have known that the dog was dangerous. So it doesn't even have to be a bite. Prior knowledge is proven and you move forward with your case. Pathway 2. This is where most people get surprised. Georgia's dog bite statute says that a dog can be considered dangerous based off of leash law violation. If a local ordinance required a dog to be on a leash or on the owner's property, and the dog was loose when it attacked, that leash violation itself can serve as evidence of the dog's vicious propensity under the law and the owner's responsibility. You don't have to show that the dog bit anyone before. You show the dog was loose in violation of the law and they attacked you. Now, Atlanta has leash laws. Fulton County has leash laws and requirements. DeKalb County, Gwinnett County, all of the local counties surrounding Atlanta have some variation of a leash law. Those can be cited to. Now, beyond that, most incorporated cities and counties in the metro Atlanta area also have leash law statutes or ordinances that you can cite to as well. If the dog was off leash in a neighborhood, at a park, on a trail, in an area where leashing is required, and it attacked someone, the owner does not get to hide behind, well, the dog has never bitten anyone before. If the leash violation can be documented through animal control, you've got video, there's a citation given by the police and or animal control or witnesses. Any of that is powerful evidence for your case that they violated the leash law, allowing this dog to attack. This is your pathway that an attorney can use to show a violation of Georgia's statute. Now, dog owners in Georgia will typically raise 1 or more defenses. The most common one that we see is provocation. They will say that you provoked the dog, you startled it, you reached toward the dog, you made sudden movements that caused it to react. We get this a lot with children, that the child did something, was acting, grab an ear or something like that instead of petting the dog. Here is how Georgia addresses this kind of situation. Provocation is a fact question. The defense generally argues that your conduct caused the attack or at least contributed to it. Insurers, though, often overreach in this area when it comes to provocation. Simply walking past a dog, making eye contact with a dog, or being near the dog's territory is often not enough, standing alone to count as a legal defense. Provocation has to be something really meaningful. accidental conduct, innocent movement, child reaching out to pet what they thought was a friendly dog. None of these are automatically constitute provocation under Georgia law. If an insurance company tells you otherwise, that you provoked the dog because you looked at it or you tried to pet it, that argument is not going to hold up in most cases. You don't want to just accept it that you somehow are at fault for this. With young children, provocation arguments are even harder for insurers to prove. Georgia law recognizes that children may lack adult judgment, and depending on the child's age, they may be presumed incapable of the kind of fault that provocation requires. So a 7-year-old, they don't understand dog behavior the way an adult does, and courts factor that in. That 7-year-old shouldn't be held to the same standard as an adult, but it's a very fact-specific inquiry. So don't accept an adjuster's conclusion about provocation without talking to an attorney first. Now, let me walk through exactly what you need to do if you or someone you know has been attacked by a dog in Georgia. First, very simple, get medical treatment immediately. Dog bites carry serious infection risk, including the possibility of rabies exposure, staph infection, or other infection. Beyond the immediate wound, you've got bites to hands, arms, and face that can damage tendons, nerves, or muscles in ways that require surgery sometimes. Go to the emergency room and urgent care the same day. Tell the provider what happened, what dog it was, and how it attacked you. Describe the attack, the severity of the bite, and the exact location on your body. Document your injuries before they heal. This is a big one. You want to take photographs of every wound. You want to then take them in a progression as they start to heal. If you have stitches or staples, you want to show it before that. You want to show it once it's stitched up, all of the stitches or the staples, and then when it's removed. Then as it heals as you go along. These day-to-day, as I call them, photographs, they give the full depth and severity of the wounds that are real important evidence in your case to build to show exactly what you've been going through. Next, obviously, you're going to want to get all of the dog owner's information, name, address, phone number, email, homeowners or renters insurance. You want to ask them, do you own the home? Are you renting the home? Get any insurance information you can, the name of the dog, the type of dog that it was. Sometimes and oftentimes these are mixed breed. You want to understand what type of mixed breed dog we're dealing with here. That can become very, very important. You also want to talk to some neighbors if you can, or go back later to talk to neighbors to find out what they know about the dog. They're oftentimes the best source to say, yeah, I know about this dog. It would get off leash all the time, or it's bit someone before, it tried to bite someone before. It's a nasty dog. Nobody likes it. Any of those sorts of things. Find other witnesses. If anyone saw the attack, you're obviously going to want to get their contact information. That includes email as well, phone, email, address. They can be valuable witnesses to what exactly happened, because oftentimes you're not going to remember because it happened so quickly. They can say whether you did anything to provoke it, what you were doing right before to kind of back up the arguments against provocation that we just talked about earlier. And then obviously the most important thing out of all of it is you got to report it right away. You want to call the police. If you need to, call animal control. Hopefully they'll do it as well, but you want both entities to come out. In Fulton and DeKalb County, there are separate reporting channels. Whether you're in the metro area, you want to find the local animal control office, file a report there. The report creates a paper trail, really important, just like as if it was in a car wreck. If the dog has a prior history, they're going to get all that information. If it had a prior history of aggression, biting, anything like that, they're going to quarantine the dog. They will find out its shot history to know whether you really have a big issue of possible infection or anything of that nature. They can do all of this for you instead of you having to do it. So call them out to the scene, make the report right away. And the last one, real important as well, do not sign anything from the dog owner or their insurance company without speaking to an attorney first. Homeowners policies in Georgia often cover dog bite incidences, but the coverage varies depending on the specific language of the policy. So it's real important to get an attorney involved to understand what the coverage is or isn't. The moment that the incident's reported to the insurance company, you're going to get a call pretty quickly. They're going to reach out with release forms. They're going to want to get a recorded statement from you, and they might even get you to try to sign a release settling your case early on. and it resolves all future claims as well. You don't want to do any of this without talking to an attorney first. Signing that document on day 4 can eliminate your right to compensation for a surgery you need 6 weeks later. Here is what Georgia dog bite victims can recover. First and foremost, medical expenses, obviously. And remember, that's past and future medical costs. Emergency room bills, surgery, follow-up visits and care, physical therapy, occupational therapy, all of these things. Whether it's the hand and arm, nerve damage, that affects your functioning, any of those sorts of things, all of it, past, present, and future, is covered and can be recovered. Next, lost wages. And that's for the time obviously missed from work, from the day of the bite all the way through the end of your recovery. You could have lost earning capacity issues versus just lost wages. And that's the long-term permanent effect from things like nerve damage or functional issues because of the injuries that are going to affect your job and your ability to earn into the future. All of those things need to be looked into in these types of cases, especially the very severe ones. And they create your lost wage, lost earning capacity part of your claim that you would have a right to compensation for. And then obviously, oftentimes the biggest is pain and suffering. And that's everything from, these dog bite cases being as significant as they are. The value being here is you've got fear, you've got several bites that are causing lasting physical pain, sleep disruption sometimes, you got anxiety, you got post-traumatic symptoms, particularly in children we see it, and in cases where the attack was real violent and prolonged. These types of things, the mental alone in these types of cases can be very, very real and severe. You can get compensation for all of these elements of pain and suffering in a dog bite case. And finally, oftentimes don't get in other types of cases, in dog bite cases, you have scarring or disfigurement. It could be minor scarring all the way up to real disfigurement for the rest of your life. Georgia recognizes these as separate categories of general damages. You have a right to compensation for the scarring, the disfigurement that this dog bite has caused. If you have permanent scarring from the bite, that is compensable in its own way. Facial scarring, in particular, carries significant, as you can imagine, value because it is so easily seen and causes such emotional issues of folks having noticeable scarring to their face that compensation is real and important in these cases. And then, of course, as we talked about earlier, a little bit with pain and suffering, it's the psychological treatment costs, your anxiety, your fear. Now you fear dogs. You have PTSD. You require counseling. I see it all the time in these cases where people actually need counseling to get over the PTSD issues that they have. This is all compensable in a dog bite case. Now, in most residential dog bite cases, not all, the dog homeowner's policy or renter's insurance policies, the source of recovery. Standard policies typically include personal liability coverage that applies to dog bite cases, and that coverage is typically $100,000 per person. That's what we often see with residential policies in Georgia. It could go higher. I've had multiple layers. I've had 300,000, 500,000, those sorts of things. You never know for sure, but 100,000 is typically what you're going to see. Now, one thing to watch out for, some policies specifically exclude certain dog breeds. So we've seen policies where it excludes coverage if you have one of the dogs on the list. And these are your certain breeds that are most commonly cited examples of aggressive dogs. So the commonly cited examples are pit bulls, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, and a couple of others on that list. These breeds are excluded because, again, the carrier knows they are more likely than not come with severe risk of a dog bite incident. If the dog falls under a breed exclusion, the policy may not cover the claim, most likely won't. And recovery has to come directly from the dog owner itself out of their personal assets, not their insurance policy. Your attorney needs to investigate whether one of these exclusions in the policy really applies or not. That way you know how it affects the entire strategy of your case. It's real important in a lot of these cases, especially once you start to hear there might be an exclusion. Now, something else you need to know with a dog bite case is Georgia's statute of limitations for personal injury claims, which includes dog bites, is a 2-year statute, and that's under OCGA 9333. 2 years from the date of the attack. That's what you need to remember. If you miss that deadline, you lose your right to ever pursue a claim. Can't file a lawsuit after that. You can't even pursue a claim outside of court anymore. They don't owe you anything. 2 years sounds like a tremendous, real long period of time, but I can tell you it goes quickly. And more importantly, evidence disappears quickly. Witnesses forget details, especially when it comes to things like the provocation things that we want witnesses to speak to. And the documentation you preserve in the first hours after the attack are real important for this reason. You cannot recreate them later. Document, document, document. You don't want to wait on these claims. Even though you've got 2 years, you cannot just sit around and wait. The bottom line is this: dog bite injuries in Georgia are more legally complex than most people think. My dog never bit anyone before is not a defense owners think it is. The leash law pathway, the owner's negligence, the documentation you build immediately after the attack. These are the things that determine whether you recover full compensation or you walk away potentially with nothing. If you were attacked by a dog in Georgia, talk to an attorney before you do anything else. Consultations are always free. You have no obligation. But the decision you make in the few days after the attack have a direct impact on what you are able to recover. Don't give away that leverage. One thing dog bite victims almost always underestimate is how much they are owed, and they never ask for it. Insurance companies count on that. The next video breaks down 5 hidden damages that insurance hopes you never learn about, including categories that apply directly to serious injury cases like this type. Watch it before you talk to an adjuster. That video is right up there on your screen.